When everyone asks who's going to replace me, who's going to be the next judge, the truth is, you guys are the judge of this show, and you've done an incredible job over the years.
That, of course, was the end of an era. Simon Cowell's last American Idol ever. Simon's back with me now. Was it like for you, that moment, honestly? When you realised that was it, you were walking away from the show that had made you a global superstar?
I got really emotional. I mean, genuinely, I didn't think I would. The fact that the guys had organised it for me, and the audience, and that's really what you walk away from, is actually great memories. And because people ask me now what it's like, you know, when you watch the show, I still feel like I'm a part of the show. You know, I was there when the show was sold, you know, years ago in the UK, and you remember the time Kelly Clarkson emerged into a star, Carrie Underwood walked in the audition room. I mean, you know, you were part of what made it successful. So I still like watching it occasionally.
Any tears that night?
I kind of welled up a bit, yeah.
It looked to me like, I mean, knowing as I do, I thought, oh, you might go here.
Yeah, it was really, really weird. And all those memories, it's like I said to you earlier on, you pinch yourself and you go, God, I can remember coming to LA 20, 30 years ago, you know, practically on one of those, you know, star bus things, totally in awe of being in Hollywood. And then you remind yourself, now you're making shows here. I mean, it's a buzz.
What do you really think of the new Idol lineup? Because you're an incredibly competitive man. I mean, you and I have had bets on ants going up a window pane, so...
And I won.
Yeah, I read something recently, oh, I don't watch it. I don't believe that. I believe you must watch it.
I started watching it when I came over here, because it's completely different when you watch it in the UK, and you watch it here, and you're part of the right time zone and things.
So go on, good, bad, ugly. Be Simon the critic. Be Simon the
I personally think it is a better show than last year. I genuinely do. I think what they've got is that it feels to me that they've got their energy back, that they're confident, they're competitive. And I said to everybody on my show, I said, if you think that Idol is going to be the same as last year, think again. They're going to be working 10 times as hard as I would. I think it's a good show.
Well, I mean, what they've definitely got, they have a chemistry with the new judges together. That didn't seem to be evident last season. The Ellen thing just didn't seem to work.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's interesting you say that, because, you know, I always think of Idol really as me, Paula and Randy, you know, and I think when other people were brought in and Paula wasn't there, it was, to me, like being on a different show. And because it was my last show and I'd announced I was leaving, weird atmosphere on those last few weeks.
Did you think it was a mistake to get rid of Paula?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, they didn't get rid of her. I mean, they just couldn't agree a deal with her. But it was never the same show. I mean, me, Randy and Paula had this unbelievable chemistry. And that's what I always think of, you know, as Idol.
What do you think of Steven Tyler and J-Lo?
Good. Yeah, I like Steven. I mean, I think where they've been clever is, unlike me, when I put you on America's Got Talent, you know, another
Great moment of your life. Well, I remember what you said to me. Piers, I need somebody who's evil, arrogant, obnoxious, and your name immediately sprang to mind.
I mentioned the word and didn't have many choices. No, I think, you know, Steven's got his own personality, Jennifer's a star, Randy suddenly sort of turned it into a bit more like me, and I think he always wanted to do that.
Does that make you laugh?
Hilarious, yeah. I never tried to make my show mean. It was supposed to be funnier rather than mean.
You just say some of the meanest things ever seen on American television.
Not intentionally, well, coming from you. Not intentionally, but you know what we're like. We have a different sense of humour.
Yeah.
You know, we look at things in a different way. I like things to be a bit more extreme, a bit more crazy. And I always felt with the Idol producers, they want it to be a bit more homely and safe. So I think for them now, they're very, very happy because they can make the show they want to make now, and then I can go and make the show I want to make.
Will you be a different character on X Factor to the one we saw on Idol?
Like what?
I can't imagine it.
Like what?
Because I always say to people, trust me, this is what he's really like. It's not an act.
No, but that's what I was going to say there. That I think that, you know, you can't go on one of these shows and put on an act. I mean, if somebody horrific is singing in front of you, I can't sit there and go, take a few more lessons and come back next year, everything's going to be great. I'm like, put this person out of their misery. Or it makes me laugh. But I do like I like things to be really, really extreme. and I like it to be slightly chaotic, and I like it to be controversial.
I'm going to take another break now. When we come back, I want to ask you, what's your primary motivation? Is it fame, power, or money?
Well, I can tell you now it's money. So forget about the break.
No break anyway. Have a cup of tea. I'll think about that.
This was like something out of Star Wars. That was hideous. That was her worst audition. You're ruining this for yourself. No confidence or self-belief whatsoever. It's like an episode of Star Trek.
Watch out, America. That's just a bit of what you can expect from Simon, I'm Not Mean Cowell, on the X Factor, which is coming this way in the fall. And Simon's my special guest tonight.
Should we go back to the fame, power, and money?
Yes,
question?
let me ask you that.
Okay, I think it has to be powerful without money, because that would work. I've got all the power in the world, but I'm broke. So...
I think the more interesting question for you is not the power thing. It's more actually fame versus money. Because I think you love the fame as well. When I watch you walking out in front of 4,000 screaming people, mainly women throwing knickers at you and stuff, that's when I see you at your most energised and
Yeah, but you wouldn't do
self-pleasure.
it for nothing, would you?
No, I agree, but if I could give you one, if you could be famous, rich, powerful or successful, which would you be? You can't be more than one.
Rich.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Over being famous?
Yes.
13 years ago, you were completely bust, gone. No money. You had £5 and had $7 left in your hand. You used it for a taxi back to your parents, and your career in the record business had just come to a sudden shuddering halt. And here you are 13 years later, you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Life's taken a huge turn upwards. But I get the sense with you that what happened to you 13 years ago still defines you now.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best of times, but then again, when I look back on it, it wasn't the worst of times, you know, because I think particularly here in Hollywood, where most people get it wrong is they're afraid of losing what they've got. They're just terrified of losing their fame, as you said, power, money. But actually, once you've lost it, you can always get it back again. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, being ill is worse. So, because I've actually faced what are most people's worst fears and recovered from it, it's not as bad as you think, you know? I didn't lose my confidence. My friends were still my friends. I lived with my parents. And I just saw it as a challenge that I've got to get myself back on my feet again.
What advice did your parents give you then?
They were really, you know, honest to God, they were just cool about it. You know, they were parents. They just, you know, wanted to look after me, live with them for a while. My dad lent me some money to pay the bank. Then eventually I managed to pay my dad back. You know, it was what any parent would do. But like I said, it wasn't the worst time of my life. And actually, when I look back on it now, I still smile because, you know, I bought this beat-up old British sports car, worked 18 hours a day, and I was so determined, Piers, just to get it right this time, because I knew I'd got it wrong. So now I find it much easier to deal with things.
If that wasn't the worst time in your life, what was?
Well, when my dad died was the worst time in my life. As you know, you and I discussed that. I mean, it was just that, you know, like getting ill, losing a parent or losing, you know, somebody close to you. That's the worst thing that could ever happen in your life. You know, all the things that I worry about now, just trivial. I mean, you know, even the whole kind of idol X Factor thing, I laugh about it because it's such a high-class problem. My show is better than your show. It's like, but we both got a show. I mean, what's
It's a bit like Colin Firth and Hugh Grant and the Fountain in Bridget Jones.
Exactly.
Fighting, you know.
Exactly. Over what? I mean, the fact that we're here, we can do this, it's fantastic.
I've talked to you about this before, but you've raised it there. It is this incredibly poignant day in your life, which you say was the saddest day, with the day that you had this huge #1 hit, and then you rang your parents to tell them. You'd always ring your dad and your mum or whatever, and you've discovered that your father had died that day. So you had this extraordinary bittersweet day, a great triumph in the morning and terrible tragedy afterwards. What was that day like for you when you look back on it?
I can't lie, worst day of my life, you know, horrible, horrible time. Then over the years since, you know, I'm thankful for all the support and guidance he gave me. And like I said, it gives you a sense of perspective.
What was the best advice he gave you?
Best advice. He actually said something to me, and this was a long, long time ago, where he said to me, because he was successful, my dad, when he ran this company, and he said, everybody around you has an invisible sign on their head, which says, make me feel important. And what I understood from that is that you've got to recognise that actually everyone around you wants to be recognised, wants to be appreciated, and you can get, particularly when I do what I do now, you can get very 1 degree where you just forget everyone around you, everyone who's worked hard. And I try and remember that when I make a show, is that everyone's played a part in it. That's why I don't put my name, for instance, on the shows. I don't like this created by nonsense, because the show is created, truthfully, by 500 people every week.
Your mum's an extraordinary character,
yeah,
who I've known for quite a few years now, and I love her dearly. She is probably the only woman I know who actually has any kind of control over you, isn't she?
We fight. I mean, she was round the other day, and I said something to her. It was a joke, and she stood up, and she said, I'm not going to say what I was about to say. I said, Mum, it was a joke. So then she sits down, then the two of us sulk for 30 minutes, and eventually one of us has to say sorry, but you don't want to be the one that says sorry.
What was it over?
Honestly, I can't remember, Piers, but I'm now 12 years old going, I'm not going to say sorry, she's going to say sorry to me, and she's thinking the same thing. It is, the effect she has on me is absolutely hysterical.
You're quite a mummy's boy, aren't you?
Well, I'm not exactly, no, but
I think you are. When you're in England, you have Sunday lunch with her almost every Sunday, don't you?
Well, or she comes up to me, and I drove down to her recently. I called her out because I really wanted my mum to cook me lunch. And I said, I'm going to come down tomorrow for lunch. She said, great, we'll book a hotel. No, I want your lunch. So eventually she did cook for me, but I like those days.
I mean, she's a tough cookie. She's used to the world of show business stuff. What does she, when she's been critical of you, what does she say to you?
Do you know what? I think it's just when you know somebody, Piers, I mean, look, like your parents, I mean, whatever you do, it's great, right? But there's a degrees of enthusiasm. You know, like you phone her up, what do you think of the show? Yes, it was quite good, which means it was diabolical. Or the other way around, she's phoning you, or her phone's engaged because she's on the phone to all of her friends. That's when you know you've had a good show.
Did you say something despicable to her when you were a kid, didn't you? Didn't you come down the stairs dressed to the nines and you just said something awful from memory?
She looks like a dog or something.
Poodle or something.
Well, she had this awful coat and matching hat or something.
Even at the age of sort of 4 or 5, you were
you would have said, well, okay, the
being.
difference is most people would have thought it, I said it, okay? And that's funny enough, that's what I always think on this show, is what people say to me is they go, God, you're saying exactly what I think. And I go, well, that doesn't make it any better. I just say it.
When we come back, I'm going to ask you if there's anything you've regretted saying on television, properly regretted.
I can tell you now, you've got the job. I'm being serious.